الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين يقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا لهم درجة عند ربهم ومغفرة ورزق كريم صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد السلام عليكم والسلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين Alhamdulillah, it is with the immense fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really that a person is brought to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whereby they can learn the path to His divine closeness and pleasure. And you see that alhamdulillah, over the last couple of weeks, we like to cover the topic almost like a journey, like a procedure, that with each passing step and with each passing moment, it is almost something that we can dwell upon and we can use in our fight and the struggle against shaitan and nafs, the true enemies, the known enemies that are in our life, and how we approach them enemies. Because you see, like with each enemy or with each person, it comes with a different test. It comes with a different trial. Just like in the known physical world, you have a court for marriage, you have a court of law that contributes towards different aspects of the law, and you will be held accountable for, so for example, murder or theft, burglary, whatever it is, that there is always some punishment or repercussion for your actions. And just like the shayateen, they present you with different tests, with different trials. And sometimes these trials can come in different ways. They can come in different ways. And it was only a couple of days ago, me and a couple of brothers, we were discussing, really it refers to one of the ayahs, or one of the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and some of the hadiths of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, that why is it that we are being tested? That why are we being tested? Or what happens? What is like the stages that a person is tested? And just to summarize and simplify this very much so that everyone can understand this. Firstly, the test is as such, it might be a little reminder. Let's bring up an example here. Say one day, you're with the wrong company, or you swear or you lie, for example, and you're missing your salah at the same time. Then what happens is, the test, the severity of it will increase slightly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does this on purpose. Not that He doesn't like you or He doesn't love you, it is because of His love that He does this. It's because of His rahmah He increases this test. So the test increases very much slightly. Say then he goes into a little bit more, he starts to slander, he starts to belittle people, he starts to be aggressive, for example. then the test will slightly increase a little bit more. So what's happening is, in the beginning, these tests, these struggles are something that you are able to manage, you're able to control. It's something within your power. Say, I don't know, I'm having issue with a family member, and it's within my power to speak to him or to control him or to advise him, whatever. Then these tests will slightly increase to such a level that even you lose control. So what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to do is make you realize one thing very important, that you are powerless. That you are powerless. And one out of all of these examples, one of the best examples I can give to you is regarding wealth and mal, about the money. Wealth is a big test for people. It's a big sign, it's a big lesson. Many awliya Allah, many of the mashayikh have taught us how to come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purely through the means of one's wealth. Purely through the means of one's wealth. Some would just have bayans and speeches, discourses based on the wealth and the mal itself. We gave an example last week about, say, you were tested with regards to your wealth. What happens is, in the beginning, maybe you have some control over £1,000 or £2,000, for example. Then, afterwards, you have a desire, I want £3,000. Before, £1,000 would be suffice for you to live off. It would be suffice, you could pay your bills, get the food, whatever little leisure things you want to do, you could do with that. But then, after some time, you start to become bored of this £1,000. Then you want £2,000 and £3,000 and so on and so forth. And what this is doing is, it is giving you a purpose, meaning the wealth is trying to switch something. The wealth is trying to activate something inside you. The shaitan is working on something. What is the shaitan doing is, he is trying to reverse the fact that in the beginning you were meaning the master of the wealth. Now the wealth is becoming the master of you. That you think, if for example that extra £1,000 comes into my bank account, I can do such and such a thing with it. This is how the servants think of their masters. If the master gave me extra, or if the master give me a little bit extra shabash, or if the master gives me, a little bit something more, then I can do more. Where in reality, this is the wrong understanding with regards to wealth. Wealth is something that when you are in control of it and you are the master of it, it starts to serve you. Just like the dunya, it will start to serve you. But this is just solely in regards to one's wealth. And in the beginning I quoted the ayah of the Quran, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. The one who establishes prayer, and from what we have provided from, they spend. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. So whatever Allah gives to you, that this is suffice for you, spend from this. And you spend from this. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا. And these are the believers truly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word haqqa, without any doubt, truly these are the believers. That person who establishes his prayer and he takes provision from what Allah has given to him. That is suffice, meaning he is content with what Allah has given to him. He just is happy with this. He is not after more, and he is not happy with, he's not concerned if he receives less, because he knows that this is from the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many of you know in your lives, you will not become millionaires. You will not become a billionaire. You might not even have thousands and thousands saved up in your bank account. Even a person who works excessively, sometimes even they have hardly any money. Why? It's because it is not provision for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in Hadith Qudsi, and the Mashaykh have said that even if a pound is destined for you in the middle of a desert, and it costs you £1,000 to get that pound, that's all you'll receive. That £1 is all you'll receive. You will not receive any more or any less. Allah has destined this one thing for you. But what is the cause? What is happening here when all of this drive for wealth comes? You start to love. You start to love the wealth. You start to give that part of your heart, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I have created the heart not for you but for me. That Allah has created the heart for Himself. And when you taint this heart with the love of mal and wealth, you see where something is pure or meant to remain pure, the only thing that will happen is you are dividing that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you're giving it to something that is so infallible. You know, wealth nowadays, I can tell you now, you know, back in the days, if someone would say, oh, I've got £10,000, you'd say, okay, chalo, prove it. They might have £10,000 cash there, ready, sitting there. Even then, it's only pieces of paper and pieces of metal. You know, the coins, they're just pieces of metal, not gold, silver, or anything like this. Or if a person had gold, they'd say, right, produce to me such an amount of gold and this is how much wealth I have. Meaning it's something that you could physically show. Nowadays, if I ask any of you, how much money do you have? It's just some numbers on a screen. I can say many of you probably not even seen the capacity of your wealth. Unless maybe you go to the bank and withdraw all of it. So this is what happens, is that you've almost given the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you've subtracted it and divided it and given it to something that doesn't even really truly exist. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you could take, meaning the Mashaykh have told us, that if you cannot take this wealth to your grave, you can't take it to your grave. Do you know what they used to do back in the days with regards to like Pharaoh and these type of people? Pharaoh and these pharaohs of Egypt who built were part of them building of the Great Pyramids of Giza, etc. Out of like a custodianship of wealth, they would bury money and gold with the pharaohs, because they thought when he goes to the next life, he can show that this is how much wealth he had. That wealth is still there today. It's been being preserved in museums and stuff. It's not that he had to take it. And at this time, these people were considered the most wealthiest people on earth. They owned vast amount of land. See, we're sitting in our towns and in our homes, one small house, and we think we have so much. Really, we have hardly anything in the grand scheme of things. I can, even if I was to show you an example, okay, I wanted to do this for a very long time, but I've never had the chance to do it. So, I don't know if you can all see my phone, it might be a little bit hard to see. Those of you, I don't know, who has bad eyesight? Brother, can you see far? Can you see far? Yeah, okay. Right, so right now I've opened up Google Maps, okay. Can you see all this? This is where we are now. Can you see, Shahir, everybody? This is where we are now, yes? That's a picture of where we are, okay. So now I'm going to zoom out as far as I can. Once it loads. So the internet's not that good, but you can see I've zoomed out. Oh, there we go. So I've zoomed out to this level. Can you see now where we are? They're showing on the blue dot, where the blue dot's bigger than the picture than we were at, actually now. In the grand scheme of things, when you zoom out, and you look from an eagle's point of view, even the pigeon must look down and think that actually this is like a small place. This is the level when the pigeon fly in the sky, looks down, it's tiny. You in an aeroplane, you look down, it's tiny. Even the biggest mountain can seem like a pebble. But what is it that is giving us this drive and this love for dunya? What is causing this? One of the main reasons is that you have given that portion of love that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you've given it to mal, you've given it to wealth. You have made that the master, and you are now the slave. And in the teachings of Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, so we have talked about this aspect of love and its prohibitions and wealth. So there are 7 key points in the teachings of Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullahi alayhi. And he mentions that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you wealth, and you let your preoccupation with it distract you from obedient service to Him. So when Allah has given you wealth, meaning Allah has given you this gift, but you have made it a distraction. That Allah has given you a gift, you've ignored the giver, and you have focused on the gift. So much so you're focused on the gift, you've actually forgotten about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala almost completely. When you do this, so this is what Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani has taught us, that when you forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning from His provision, He makes it a barrier between you and Himself. He makes it a barrier between you and Himself. We should all be listening to this part now. That when we put this obstacle of wealth between myself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He erects a barrier. He places a curtain there. Almost a wall is placed between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does Allah lose anything? I am the one who has lost. I cannot place, if I place a veil, deliberate veil in between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have still lost. But when Allah places this block, you have lost. How do you expect to achieve high level closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when only thing is that this focus of mal and wealth is so much distracting you that almost that has become your ilah, that has become your Rabb. So the point number 2 is becoming disobedient in the acquiring of wealth. Do not become disobedient in acquiring wealth. So where a person, he might think, okay, I need to work, excessive amount of hours, work here, there, everywhere, whenever I can, and his salah is being missed. We go back to the very first ayah. Bismillah, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Establish the prayer and take, and from what Allah has provided, they spend. Meaning taking provisions from the one who gives provisions. And establishing the prayer. Say, if you're going to become disobedient in this aspect of acquiring wealth, here becomes the barrier between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third one is spending more time in remembrance of the gifter than the actual gift. You know, the other day someone was telling me, and they said, I had a vision, almost like a dream, like my subconscious, not like a deliberate vision. And he goes, I saw myself in an old state. He's a young guy, he's a normal guy, but he saw himself in a state of an old man. So he's a young guy like my age, 27, 28. But when he was falling asleep, you know, like how you're falling asleep, and it's like something struck him, and he's seen himself in an old man form. And he thought, when he woke up from that, just a moment of thought, it was just nothing big. And he thought, what am I striving towards? If I'm just going to become that old Buddha who can't even walk properly. It's like all my life I've been sacrificing my time and effort, my mal and wealth, my time and effort and energy in this acquiring of wealth to become that. And he said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And something struck his heart. It's like, what a waste of a whole life. That he's seen himself just vaguely in an old man form. And that's enough just to trigger the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Trigger that awareness, that alertness, and take him out of ghafla, take him out of heedlessness. You have to bear in mind, time will pass very quickly. Years and years are passing. Months and days are passing. How much more longer are you going to spend in this time where you're just forgetting about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Learn the ways of the path. Learn the ways to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use whatever is there at your means, at your grasp, and go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One should never have takabbur in this journey. One should never have arrogance in this journey. I know. Let me tell you, you do not know anything. When it comes to its reality, we don't have a clue what is going on. We don't even know many of the reasons why actually we are even here. If I say, why are you in the mosque? I don't know. But something has brought you here. Something has made you realize in your heart. Even if you have not felt that feeling or felt that thought, what is your deep underlying conscience telling you? That you know where you need to be and you know what you need to do. But what is stopping you? What weakness is it that is causing you to stop? That is where it's very important to understand the tazkiyah of the heart, the purification of the self. That when these elements are purified, the body, mind, heart and soul, there is nothing between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then. When you talk, it is almost a barrierless. There is no veils between you and the one you are speaking to. That is why when you see the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you sit with them, and you talk to them, and you seek advice from them, it's like, that advice that they have told me does not have any benefit to them. That is all for me. Why? Because there is a direct channel and direct route from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the means of the mashayikh, that actually you receive these direct guidances, gems and jewels that otherwise you might not have been able to obtain. Coming here weekly, or coming here, if you're here for numbers, because I tell you what, the gatherings that have more people coming to, it's like they have generally, where one comes, they multiply and multiply and multiply. One brings two, two brings one, etc., etc. That's what happens. In these gatherings, you're not here for, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not here to put a smile on your face. I'm not even here to make you cry. I'm not even here to make you feel any type of way. I'm just simply here just to share a simple message from the Kitab of Futu al-Ghaib, the unveilings of the unseen, that have been taught to us by our beloved teacher Sayyidina Shaykh Ahmad Dabbagh. When they have taught the ways to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all we have to do is just propagate the message and teach others. It's something that you may have heard, you may not have heard. I think I have been through this in the past, but I just wanted to, for the sake of structure, for the sake of keeping things in order, I've gone through this again. So that was the fourth point. So the fourth point is putting focus into Allah Azza wa Jal. He will reward you in such a way without reducing the gift. You've all heard it. Whatever is destined for you, you'll receive. Whatever rizq is in your kismat, you'll get. Every single Pakistani, every single person in Nelson probably hears this. Or whatever is destined for you, you're going to get it anyway. This is really the mashayikh also teaching us this too. That even if you come and stand 5 waqt namaz in the masjid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to decrease your wealth. Say a person, I don't know if anyone is taxi driving or they do deliveries or whatever, and they spend 1 hour in the masjid, and then they think, oh, I've missed an hour worth of work. You've not missed an hour worth of work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate that hour at a time when you need it. That time when you need that money, when you need that wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate that wealth. That's what happens. That is the provision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You do not know how it works. Even many people who were poor once upon a time now have a vast amount of wealth. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined this wealth for them. The only difference is that how it is obtained. That is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even say you were meant to receive £1,000, but you've taken unlawful means to receive that money. It's still destined £1,000, whether you're going to receive it then or later. But you take the barakah out of that wealth. You take the blessing away from that wealth. But when you acquire through halal means and proper means, then what happens is the wealth is actually blessed, and it almost feels more than it is. Number 5, wealth is the servant. Mal is the servant. And you are the master, not the other way around. You are the master of wealth, and wealth is not the master of you. If you think working 50 hours overtime is going to make you any richer, actually it's going to make you poorer. It's going to make you weaker. It's going to make you sadder. Who likes working except Nabil? I don't know, Nabil, you can clarify this now once and for all. Do you like working? He doesn't like working. But sometimes he might, wherever one needs to, I'm sure he does. But no one, really everyone only working they're only working for one thing, they're only working for money. I don't know any one person who's working, I'm just going to work now, because I want to work. I've not met one person to this day. Say they have a business or they have something, they're always doing, unless you're elderly and you're retired or whatever, always you're busying yourself to prevent the aspect of ghafla coming in. But generally people who are young, they should be working or studying or doing something with their time that is productive. But what happens is that we start to work excessively. We start to work times that we shouldn't do. We start to do things that we don't really want to do. Today someone said to me, would you like to work overtime? And I said, it's not going to happen. Not on a Wednesday anyway, because I need to finish work and then spend time actually preparing this bayan. Can't just sit there working overtime, then by the time I've got 20 minutes left, skim through some words, and then the message will be affected then, meaning the deliverance of it. The message is never affected, but the delivery of it will be affected. That is my shortcoming and not the shortcoming of the message. So number 6, living a life that may include ease and comfort, but never divert away from the primary source of all wealth and mal, ar-razaq. Never divert away from the source of all mal and all wealth. Never divert away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, like I said, like the mashayikh are saying here now, you don't need to live a life, chalo theek hai, I want to become a pious and righteous kamil wali now, I need to go and live in a cave somewhere. These times have passed. You can become more of a awliya Allah in your homes, in this society, in this community, than even the people living in seclusion. And why I say this is because in society, in community, you are tested. You're tried, there's women, there's money, there's cars, there's houses, there's land. Everything is there in your naked eye. A nice car drives by, you think, I wouldn't mind that car. Someone has a nice house, you think, I wouldn't mind that house. And you start to work excessively, you start to work harder. Whereas before, what was wrong with what you already had? The car you already had. Some people just really do chop and change for proper reasons, and fair enough, if a person can't afford and it's within their means, then do so. But if it's not within one's means and they go out and obtain these things, there's no blessing in this. Number 7, and the mashayikhs are here. You should therefore lead a pampered life in this world and enjoy an honorable and agreeable existence in the hereafter. The company of the champions of truth, the martyrs, the righteous, and the awliya Allah. All this can be obtained from the correct use of wealth. You know what Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani actually titled this portion on the prohibition of the love of wealth. Meaning they said it's haram to love wealth. It's haram to love it. Prohibition meaning that it's haram. You cannot love wealth. They have said, and this is this is the Ghaus al-Azam, Ghaus al-Zaman. These are the such mashayikh. They had such mushahada of the Prophet ﷺ, such closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who's to say that these people, you cannot deny these people. They spent years and years and years teaching and in seclusion, spreading the message, commitment to the cause, commitment to Allah's religion, and commitment to the Sunnah, the Quran and Sunnah, commitment to dawah and purpose. And they are saying it's prohibited to love wealth. If you can truly identify the love of wealth within yourself, then you require some level of purification of the heart, the mind, the body, to minimize this risk of even falling into this trap. And I'm telling you, the best of people do fall into this trap. When they see the dollars note flying in, the bank account going up, everyone's thinking, yeah, do you know what? I'm on it, kind of thing. Really, you're a clown, because you're wasting your life and your time for what? Something that, and the reason I've used the word clown, it's not that I've just used it in a haphazard manner. What do clowns do? They make a joke of themselves for other people's happiness. Hey, Shahir? They make a joke of themselves for other people's happiness. That is a clown. Yes, you can say that he's a clown, he's a clown, he's a clown. Really, half these people aren't clowns. But what is a true clown is that person who makes a fool of himself for other person's happiness. You put yourself in debt just so next month thinks you've got a good car. I don't know. I personally, or you take out a £50,000 loan to fund a wedding just so half the people can criticize the food. I don't know, maybe for me personally, these are the true clowns who make a mockery of themselves. They put themselves in debt. They're paying 10, 15 years down the line. They're paying loans off, remortgages off, cars off, houses off. What have you done? You think you're living a comfortable, peaceful life. Really, you're living like a fool. Your whole life is gone. 25, 30 years in a mortgage, or 25 years in a loan. Inna lillah, you've dug your own grave a little bit. You've almost, out of 6 feet, you probably dug 3, because that's it. Half of your life is gone spent working. He says why it's very important that a person has guidance. They have a sheikh, they have a mentor, they have a teacher, so they prevent themselves from entering into these traps. And then other means will present themselves. I know people, they were millimeters, centimeters from signing mortgage agreements, signing loan agreements, finance agreements, meaning the ones that have interest in, etc. And they've backed away. Allah has given them 50 times more now. Allah has given them double triple the amount even they couldn't even imagine. But why is this? Because of that initial sacrifice. That move away from the here and now and start to plan for your future, because being a Muslim is very important. And one of the definitive summaries of being a Muslim is that you are future proof, meaning that you prepare for the future at the sacrifice of the here and now. So you give up this current moment that you're living in. I want the nicest phone, the nicest house, the nicest cars, because we all know that death is around the corner and our eternal abode will be there. Those palaces and those women, that mall and that kind of happiness that Allah has given directly, whenever one wants and however they want. There's a reason why the smallest Jannah is 70 times bigger than this world. Because we all have this natural desire for wealth, for houses, for car, for transport, and all of these things. So it's very, very, if a person is precautious in these things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a better plan and a more worthwhile plan. And I'm not trying to discourage you from working. I just said earlier on in the speech that you should work. You should be spending your time in a non-useful way, studying, working, whatever, or running a business. And then you don't need to do more that takes you into the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you're not praying or etc. etc. So inshallah we will end on that note. Inshallah, if anyone has any questions just before we close up, you can ask anyone. Brother Shah has a question.
So, the prime examples which you have given today in regards to materialistic things, the wealth, it's mainly been related to cars, houses, etc., etc. Well, another forms of sustenance which Allah gives us is also in the form of the human being. So, for example, like we may be blessed with like siblings or a partner or a baby, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, sustenance in the form of a human being rather than wealth in terms of cars and houses. So, looking at it from this perspective, can that also be a barrier? And can we get can we fall in love with that so much where it can also distance us from the Creator, Allah?
Just 2 points on your question. This topic was purely about wealth. It's just to do with wealth. Generally, with regards to your question, meaning that can a person become very much in love with a person? And even if you look at, I'm just going to open up something for you here because we covered this slightly last week. Once it opens up. So, with regards to sustenance, a person should be thinking like, so when we talk about wealth is more to do with things, whereas sustenance is more of like basic carnal appetite, desire type thing. And even if you wanted just more of your question answered, if you just watch last week's bayan, inshallah, that actually covers this question. Just to make just to cut a long story short. Sustenance is just basic, meaning that food, drink, nourishment. Sustenance meaning that sustaining, whereas provision is something that is given. So that is the difference. But in summary, yes, you can be that much attached that it actually diverts a person away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bilkul. That these are all. People are one aspect of it, whereas today we just covered the wealth. Because like I said, I've been through this in the past, but just for the sake of continuation and continuity, that we actually have this in the playlist on the internet, so that when one needs to refer back to it, we can do, inshallah.
Question. So let's say you are happy with less. You work in a standard job and you do normal stuff and you have time to go majlis and stuff. But then society's like, that's not right. Pretty cool. They tell you you're doing wrong, you're not successful with that, but you're happy with where you are. How do you block out what other people are doing and not falling in the trap of doing more in that sense?
Imam al-Ghazali mentioned in the book that there are 4 tests that will present itself to a person. Firstly, shaitan, the oneself, the people, and dunya, meaning the world, wealth, sustenance, provisions, and all these kind of things all fit in the category of dunya. Dunya meaning is a summary of wealth. I mean, dunya is the one that fits in all of these categories: women, wealth, self-likeness, a lot of these things, fame and name, etc. Dunya contains all of this. But with regards to what you're asking is that if people say to you that it's not good enough, do more, you can do more, you're an intelligent lad, or you can get a better job, it doesn't matter what people think. If you could get a better job, yes, you can go and get a better job. You put the time and effort and you go and do it. Simply to these people, you just answer, say, inshallah, I'll try and do whatever I can. I'll try my best. You really, to these people, you don't even need to answer to them. You do not need to answer to these people, because these people actually, they don't understand, that they're almost living in this temporal world and made it permanent. Whereas you've understood that this temporal world, that what they perceive as permanent is temporal. So really, you're not even on the same page. on just basic understanding. Because when a person says that, is that why would I sacrifice my akhirah for something temporal? Where means will present themselves, they will. Believe me, trust me, I know there are many people that have become very successful just working normal jobs. And also saving money, not spending excessively, not wasting money as well. These can also be benefiting factors. You have savings, you do whatever you can, and then there will be some kind of limit. But then there is that chance that maybe you do get something better, or you could start cutting costs. That even the richest of people, say a person makes £10,000 a month, he's living a £10,000 a month lifestyle. If he lives a £1,000 a month lifestyle, the guy will be a millionaire after a couple of years. Whereas if he lives a £10,000, the guy will still be poor. Do you understand what I mean? Where if you got £1,000 and he's trying to live a £2,000 lifestyle, it's not going to work. You'll be below poverty. If you live like this, you'll be in debt. Whereas if you have £1,000 and everything fits in there, and you save just 10% of it, alhamdulillah, khair, you can make goodness with that 10%. Really, all with regards to money and these things, all it just requires a little bit of thought, a little bit of wisdom, and alhamdulillah, you'll make hundreds of pounds feel like thousands. You'll make thousands of pounds feel like millions. Because that's what people do. They don't spend unnecessarily. But for this kind of speech with regards to saving money, inshallah, I'll invite Uncle Iqbal. Inshallah, he'll teach us all how to save. Inshallah. Jazakallah. Inshallah, we'll end. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.